Hey guys, my name is Christian Sparks. You may know me online as Hippo Wombat. Recently I released my Orbit Weather and Seasons blueprint for Unreal Engine 4 on the Unreal Engine Marketplace. I've been getting a lot of messages and replies to my thread about how to get the system working. I had released a tutorial video that was kind of geared more towards the Gumroad soft launch that I did. However, the way that this system is implemented on the Unreal Engine Marketplace is a little bit different than the Gumroad build, so I'm going to go ahead and go through a start-to-finish tutorial on getting you guys started on how to use it, and then go through a couple functionality scenarios. Let's get started. So, I'm going to launch a blank project in Unreal Engine 4.13.2. The steps that I'm going to follow here should be the same for 4.12 as well, and any other subversions of either engine version that you're using. So I'm going to start just a blank first-person project, Orbit tutorial. Okay. Let that build itself up here. Okay, so first things first, before I even add Orbit to this project, I'm going to set myself up with dynamic lighting. You can use this system if you're not using the time of day portion with baked lighting. I will cover that in another video, but for now I'm going to just be sticking with the dynamic lighting with the time of day system. So I'm going to go to my settings and world settings. Under light mass, I'm going to expand and click on this. Whoops, change that back, drag this out here. I am going to tick this force no pre-computed lighting option to be true. It'll require me to build lighting one time before I do. Now, everything lighting wise is going to be completely dynamic. This way, if I add any objects, move anything around, I don't have to rebuild the lighting every time I do that. This also is going to allow me to utilize the time of day system included in Orbit. So I'm going to change this light source to movable. I'm going to change this skylight to movable. I'm going to drag in a couple other actors real quick before we add the system in. I'm going to drag in one more directional light that I am going to rename Moon and set its mobility to movable as well. And then under visual effects, I'm going to drag in an exponential height fog actor. Now, you don't have to use these portions of the system if you don't want exponential height fog, if you don't want to use like the ambient lighting from the skylight. You can go ahead and disable those in Orbit, but Orbit does need to reference those objects in order to function just the way that it's built. I'm also going to delete my atmospheric fog actor. That's kind of an optional choice for you. I developed Orbit for use without the atmospheric fog, but if you want to try and use it alongside it, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm also going to, in the skylight, I'm going to change the source type to SLS specified cube map, and I'll show you why in a second here. So I'm going to save all. Real quick, one thing that I forgot to do in the original take of this is to activate the mesh distance fields, which is a necessary step for the rain and snow occlusion to work. So I'm just going to show you how to do that real quick. We're going to go into Settings, Project Settings. I'm going to drag this over. I'm going to go into Rendering, and generate mesh distance fields. I'm going to tick this to be true, and then you can restart the editor. It's good to do that right after you've saved everything, which I believe was the last step that I included before I spliced this video in. Back to it. And I'm going to close the project. Now, in my vault, I am going to add Orbit Weather and Seasons to a project. And in this case, it's going to be Orbit Tutorial. Add to project, and it'll take it just a second to add those files in. I've already got it downloaded and cached, so it's ready to go. And I'm going to reopen Orbit Tutorial. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my Orbit folder under Blueprints, and I'm going to drag BP Orbit into my level. It may take it a second to load as it loads everything for the first time. Okay. So everything is expanded right now. I am going to collapse all these menus for the time being, and we'll go through these piece by piece. in just a second. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is assign our actors. So we're going to assign the sun actor is this default light source that came with the project. Moon actor is going to be moon. Skylight actor is going to be the skylight. Height fog is going to be this exponential height fog actor. Post process is going to be the post process volume. And again, if you don't want to use portions of these, just disable them in Orbit and you won't have to use them. Next thing that I'm going to do is on my skylight, we set this to SLS specified cube map, and under Orbit and textures there's a T blank cube map. This is kind of a cheater's way to not have to recapture the scene every so often or at a set time. This is just a blank white cube map, so reflections from the sky sphere are not going to be supported. You can still use sphere reflection captures if you want to have reflections, live reflections, excuse me, in your level. So back to Orbit here, we have our actors assigned. The first thing that I am going to do is go to weather pattern, and I'm going to load the lightly cloudy weather pattern. And that's going to change a bunch of settings. So, oh, and one more thing that you'll want to do is delete your sky sphere blueprint if you haven't already. You will not need it. Okay. So here we are in the level. Some stuff is here, but it looks a little bit weird. So let's go ahead and fire it up. And we're able to move around and shoot and play. Everything works. Okay. So going back to Orbit, first thing that we'll notice is that our clouds are super flat. To change this, we want to go to the Stratus Clouds section. And under fluffiness, it's set to 15. This is out of a total 300 that I have it locked to. You can unlock this and bump up that max if you want to. The issue that you're going to run into is that with sampling settings, you may see some artifacting. This uses a stacked layer translucency method. And so you may see some edges on those stacks, depending on how far spaced apart they are, which is exactly what the fluffiness value does. So I'm going to click this and bump it up to 150, so 10 times the default amount. And now they have some shape and volume to them. And again, play an editor, it's all working. So simulating, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Simulating to the time of day is something that some people have been saying wasn't working correctly. I'm going to click true. Day length in minutes, I'm just going to set to 0.5, and we'll leave the time at what it is. And now that sun actor is dragging itself right across the sky and setting. And that moon, you'll notice that the moon is dark. The reason for that is by default the moon is set to automate phasing. Actually, in this weather profile it's not, which is good. You'll want to disable that if you want the moon to be visible at all times. The moon phase for a full moon is 0.5. Otherwise, 0 or 1 are going to completely black out the moon, and then the values between those change the phase of it. You can automate this as well, as I said. Hang on one sec. Okay, so now if I don't automate the moon phase, keep it at 0.5, when that moon rises, as soon as I can find where it's going to pop up, there's the sun. Moon is right there, and there it is in all its moony glory. Okay, next up was a big question, was the rain and snow. This is actually something that's bugged, but there's a really simple fix for it. So if you go under Orbit and Particles, there is PS Raindrop and PS Snow. PS Raindrop, if you drag it in, nothing's happening. What the heck? For some reason, when I submitted the build to Epic, this collision scene depth was within the emitter, which it shouldn't be because it's using GPU particles rather than CPU, and so it's using mesh distance field collisions. So at one point I was using scene depth, but I deleted the node. Somehow it must have gotten dredged up when they processed the file, I'm guessing. So all you need to do is delete that collision, the scene depth collision node, and rain appears. And then the same thing goes for PS snow. If I drag this over from my other monitor, you just delete that scene depth collision, and that snow starts forming and falling. Okay, so how do you get it to rain? Well, if I bring in this weather pattern rainy and load it, it's going to set the conditions necessary for it to rain. Real quick here, I'm going to see another. I'm just going to go through everything here. So, getting it to rain, we set up the rainy profile, and also show you in a second what settings you can do manually to set it up to rain if you don't want to use this profile. It's just a good jumping off point, and you can kind of tweak it and save it to a custom one if you'd like, which I'll also show you in a second. So I'm going to go into this cube material just to kind of show you what needs to be done. I'm not going to save it because it's going to mess with other stuff, but with your projects, anything that you want to have rain or snow build up on, you'll want to do what I'm about to do with your material. So right click, search MF underscore, and you're going to want to do snow rain for static objects and snow rain foliage for foliage objects. So MF snow rain. It's going to have a diffuse input, which you're just going to take your base color, plug it in there, fire it back out to your base color. Same thing goes with your roughness. You'll fire that straight through. And this material isn't using anything else, so I am just going to leave it how it is. And I'm going to apply. I'm not going to save. This way the stuff is going to be reflected in the material. It's going to compile for a second. There we go. Okay, so now it is working, and it is wet by default. So I'm going to hit Alt-P, and in a second... Oh. Debugging. Odd. Send and restart. I know why. I know why this happened. So there is a bug with this release that I am going to be submitting a fix for to Epic so that they can get it updated. There is a workaround, which kind of sucks, and I'm very sorry. This one kind of slipped under my radar and is my fault. So on BP Orbit, when you load the rainy weather profile, that removes the default sound files, which are needed when it starts raining. So the workaround for that is if you go into Orbit and Audio and Wave, we can do S rain in the rain sound, and then under lightning for the thunder sounds we'll want S thunder near, S thunder far, and S thunder very far. Okay, so now I'm going to hit Alt-P and play, and in a second it'll rain. It may hitch the first time that you load the rain sound, just because it's loading that audio file for the first time, but it shouldn't hitch again after that. So here we go. We have rain, and we have thunder is also playing. So that's how you get the rain to work. I'm sorry that it's kind of a workaround at this point. I will definitely get a hotfix submitted to Epic as soon as I can, and have them upload that so that that's not necessary to do. Okay. The volumetric fog is a big question, or popular question, excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to load up the sunny profile, which is just plain sky with the sun. Also, just to showcase this, time of day. Oh good, simulate time of day is already off. So I'm going to set this at more of an angle so that you can really see that fog coming through. So we'll set it to like right there, and then we're going to do one of these, scale this down, whoops, scale this down, scale it along this way, oops, there we go. Okay, so this is going to showcase the fog or the light shafts passing through without having to look directly at the directional light that is giving them. So volumetric light, active. Okay, so now you can already see right along here and there, those light shafts and shadows forming. If I bump up the density to like super strong 40, you can see them much more clearly. And that is pretty much all it takes to get the volumetric fog stuff working. You can set like the texture depth 0.5 so that there's a little bit of a texture to it. Set that to even deeper. There you go. So there's a little bit more of a texture to it. You can also set like stuff like movement and stuff like that. I have another tutorial video. I will link it right here in the video so that you can see it. Okay, and other than that, I think that's everything that was really pressing to get working in the system so that you can really see that everything's working properly. I'm going to go section by section instead of doing everything in one big video like I did with the Gumroad release. That way I can kind of spend a little bit more time focusing on each section and you guys can get really good value per video. And you also don't have to go scrubbing through YouTube videos trying to find stuff. Thank you very much. I am so sorry that this launch has been a little bit rough. It's not my intention at all. Essentially, there wasn't really a whole lot that I could do for troubleshooting up until now. Well, actually, no, let me back up. There wasn't a lot I could do about troubleshooting until yesterday at, hang on one second, let me check my emails. There wasn't a lot that I could do with troubleshooting until 2:40 p.m. yesterday. Why did it take me so long to get a video up? This is kind of crappy for you guys, and I'm very sorry, but I am a husband and a dad first. I work a 40-hour-a-week IT job from 6:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. And then I usually have the rest of the day to either, spend time with my kids or my wife, or if I have free time to work on this stuff. Yesterday, my wife's phone was completely shattered, destroyed. I had to drive 40 miles away to the nearest Apple store to get it fixed. I spent almost 4 hours there and they didn't fix it. I didn't get home until 10 o'clock at night. I had been gone since 6. I started working on getting a tutorial video and I had issues with the Epic launcher and I had to completely uninstall and reinstall the software for Unreal Engine. And so by that time I was exhausted and I literally passed out on the couch in my office. And then I had to work again at 6:30 today. I got off at 3:30, and so as soon as I got home I started working on this video. I'm going to be uploading it as soon as I'm done cutting the footage for it. But I want to extend my sincerest apologies to everybody who's bought this and seen, little to no documentation. I didn't know if I could include a PDF documentation for this, given the way that Epic is passing out the files. And so I intended to build a tutorial specific to this version. I thought initially that the Gumroad tutorial would have sufficed. However, the way that this project is implemented through the marketplace is a little bit different than the Gumroad build, and so it did require a different tutorial video, which is where I am now. I promise you I am working on a hotfix, and I'm going to be sending it into Epic to have them update this project, and I'm going to be continuing to iterate on this software, making it better, adding new features, doing bug fixes. So please don't stop the feedback. Send me whatever issues you have, any suggestions. I'm happy to hear it. I'm here for you guys, and I want to get this to be the best that it can possibly be. So thank you all for your support, your feedback, your love, your patience. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video, which is going to be detailing not the volumetric lighting and fog, because that's already taken care of. We're going to focus on the backdrop clouds next. So that will be up shortly. Thank you.